Today we have Dark Arts Cosplay, who's dressed as
Lee, hella.
Hella. Yeah, the crazy chick that we all hated, in the
No,
movies.
no, everybody loves Hella.
Right? Everybody loves Hella. Sure.
Everybody needs a big bad older sister.
No, yeah. That was a crazy movie, by the way. Yeah, it was insane. So, how did you get into cosplay? How did you discover cosplaying?
I discovered cosplay many, many years ago, around the time when Tomb Raider 1 was still a thing. And I dressed up, or at the time it was called Lookalike. I dressed up as Lara Croft and became the Lara Croft lookalike from sort of Netherlands, Belgium occasionally, not official, but it's been that was my first dabble into cosplay. And after that, I took a very, very long hiatus before returning to the cosplay scene after I moved from the Netherlands to the UK.
Oh, nice. So, how many years was that like that you took a hiatus?
Ooh, I think about 15 years.
Whoa. So
No.
you were a young
So
adult and then you went and you became an adult.
then I was well, sort of an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a degree to complete, so
Yeah. See,
yeah,
that's
that
that's a
took
big
priority.
difference between Europeans and Americans is a degree is something that you get in Europe and a degree is what you want in America. Because in Europe it's free to go to university.
Not quite, no. You
Really?
do have to pay, but these are quite different.
Yeah. So you have to buy all your books and everything probably and
Case I did a Bachelor of Design, so I ended up buying mostly one book and a ton of materials.
yeah. So what was your first cosplay? You would say the Laura Croft one?
Our Croft one was my first cosplay, which was incredibly homemade and DIY.
Wow.
But that was fun. I loved it. I actually got talked into at the time when we had internet cafes. That's really
Hmm.
showing my age. Um, we I was invited to show up as Lara Croft and in my DIY outfit, and that just went really well. And after that, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna invest a little bit of money in getting a more authentic costume ready. So I ended up with the whole latex top and everything else on it.
Nice. So what are your next three cosplay ideas?
Currently, I'm working on Guardians of the Galaxy Gamora version 2, the robotic geisha from Ghost in the Shell, and the really, really early stages of the Pepper Potts rescue suit from Endgame.
Wow, and you're making those all handmade.
Yep, I'm making them all by myself.
Nice. So do you
A
use
lot of the time.
you use EVA foam for that or are you going with the metal?
So the rescue no, the rescue suit is definitely going to be foam. It's going to be my first attempt at foam smithing. I normally work with 3D prints. Foam and I have a love hate relationship, so this is going to be quite interesting to see how this works.
Yeah, that's so you got all the proper materials ready to go, huh?
Tons of contact cement.
Right. So, have you ever been in a cosplay contest?
Never been in a cosplay contest. Normally my cons work. The cons here in the one I normally attend is either an MCM or a London Film and Comic Con,
Hmm.
and I normally would go there on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday is just normally trying to score my autographs. Saturday is there me in cosplay, and then Sunday is getting the picture taken, and then hopefully get it signed by the person I paid money for to get my picture taken with.
Of course.
And then subsequently, I just don't have the time to really do the 2 days. The prejudging, the finals, and all that kind of thing. It doesn't work for my schedule. However, I'm contemplating taking my robotic geisha to the actual competition scene, because that is a labor of love at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, just make sure you go into the right category because they will dock you points. And depending on the con and everything. Because yeah, with competitions it goes novice, journeyman, and masters. And if you feel that your skills are up to like the master level, you can always go to the journeyman category, so you don't get docked points. It's very very interesting how they judge cosplay contest and everything. So, do you prefer sewing, armor making, or wig working?
I prefer prop making. Just really, sewing isn't my forte. Although my mum, she's a professional seamstress, so you should imagine that I have some sort of a skill in that area. But I get by with sewing, but I really prefer the actual prop making. 3D prints is definitely my favorite to work with. Yeah, it's at the moment, it's a bit of a mixture of both with the various costumes I'm working on and planning.
Very nice. Yeah, that seems like with a lot of cosplayers I've talked to is where some of them can't sew, and so they'll makeshift their costumes by buying them from thrift shops or Goodwill or whatever and everything. So, what are your go-to stores when you're going for materials or full-on cosplays? What do you think is best for the UK
It kind of
viewers?
depends. It depends. I mean, for example, at the moment, my robotic geisha costume, so the fabrics I can buy here in the UK via eBay, Amazon, the usual places. And then for other bits and pieces, so because of, I try to be a bit more authentic when it
Mhm.
comes to the fabrics. So I have imported the obi fabric from Japan, the actual the hand fan and other bits and pieces, whereas I've collaborated with other sort of uh, well, model makers, costume
Mhm.
makers in China for the mask, for the helmet piece. So it's a real mixture at the moment. The internet, you can get anything you want, and as long as you have enough patience, you can get it anywhere from AliExpress to
Right.
next day delivery with Amazon Prime.
Yeah, exactly. So, is there a type of character that you cosplay frequently?
For some reason, to end up with the females in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
I mean, Hela, Gamora, Pepper Potts. The only one that I haven't really sort of, I made a Sheegan, which you can see here,
Yep.
my Biter Bob prop, and Lucille. And then, of course, my robotic geisha from Ghost in the Shell and Bellatrix. So I don't know, the bad girls?
The bad girls, the villains. No, it's good though because you have your niche, you have your proper uh category that you can file into. So, when you do photo shoots, are you more of an on location type of cosplayer, or would you say you're more green screen?
Definitely on location. So most of my pictures are being taken at cons because I don't know, for some reason I haven't really managed to get a proper photo shoot organized.
Mhm.
All of my photos are coming from the con floor, but it's really nice because after going to conventions for a couple of years, you start to recognize the familiar cosplay photographer faces.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I have a quite good relationship with some of them, and they take really great pictures, which I then afterwards get to edit myself as a little bit of a side hobby next to my cosplaying.
Yeah. And with photographers, have you ever ran into that photographer where you're like, no, I'm never using that person again? Do you have one of those stories?
Really, I
Yeah.
mean, it's you always sometimes a photo goes really quickly. You have, of course, your people where you're trying to relax for a second in a corner, and you have that one person who tries to take a picture of you. Normally, you spot it in time. You turn around. You just try to keep it, um, yeah, ruin their picture, but just call them out on it.
Yeah.
but I've never had a situation or an experience where I thought, ugh, this is definitely not for me. I'm out.
Yeah. So, speaking of like, your cosplays and everything, do you go for the realism of the characters or do you go for your own take on the character?
Um, I try to stay as screen accurate as I can, which gives me a whole bunch of problems because it sort of ends in me buying tons of different fabric just to find that right fabric for that right costume. I definitely have to say there is that realism in it. However, there is also a little bit of a creative freedom to it, where I think, you know what, this works for me, and it doesn't work for as it is on screen. So I'm rolling with my idea.
Nice. Yeah, because you know, like you said, when you first cosplayed, it was like, oh, you were a lookalike for probably a movie premiere or a game premiere or something. And that's what cosplay used to be like, where, oh, hey, can you come dressed up as Iron Man for this? Or can you dress up as Spider Man for this movie coming out? And not, but recently, in the last, I would say, 10 years, yeah, 10 years,
Probably.
cosplay became a, oh, let's cosplay at a convention and you're not the nerd. The people who not dressing up are the nerds.
I mean, it's a hobby that has really received a lot more attention, and it sort of became less niche, which I think is a great development. But each to their own. Everybody can cosplay whatever they want, whoever they want. There's definitely that sort of, you have to look like that character or that person. That fortunately has gone a little bit out of the scene. It helps. It's of course, I tend to pick characters that I feel like I don't, well, necessarily look like, but they
Mhm.
sort of strike a chord with me. I have an affinity with them. So I think maybe on an emotional level, I feel more sort of connected with them rather than a physical.
Yeah, and you could always tell when a cosplayer is not comfortable in their cosplay. you know.
I
So
mean, you have to love what you do.
yeah, exactly. And speaking of loving what you do and like everybody's a cosplayer, in the US there were several campaigns created, one of which was cosplay does not equal consent, and another one was no body shaming. It's sad that we as a community have to create these campaigns, that, hey, just because you're chunky doesn't mean you can't be Spider-Man. Just because I'm in cosplay does not give you the right to touch me inappropriately. Has Europe created any of these type of campaigns?
It's very much the same here in Europe. It's exactly just cosplay isn't consent, and everybody can, you don't have to be a supermodel to cosplay. I don't know, Sailor Moon, for example. It's more about the community. It's about the fun. And I think that definitely, on the various cons I've been to, it's on the floor where, especially cosplay is not consent, sexual harassment is not condoned, and you will be, well, ejected if that is
Exactly.
being detected on the floor.
Nice. Yeah. Now you stated that everybody can cosplay. However, do you feel that the community, not the cosplayers, but more the fans, are more sexualizing characters than they should, and that, oh, if you are a chunky Sailor Moon, you're not going to get much attention versus the girl who dresses like Sailor
I mean, it's I just find it really.
Moon.
I have sort of never been fortunately in that situation where I thought, you know what, I don't do that because X, Y, and Z. It's just because I don't like cosplaying that particular character.
Yeah.
Um, People want to do something, and you're not harming, insulting, or being derogatory towards anybody else.
Yeah.
No matter if you're a size 8 or a size 18, just do it. If
Yeah.
you're happy and comfortable, because that's the main thing. If you're happy and comfortable with what you're doing, then no problem whatsoever.
So, do you have any favorite cosplayers?
I have so many.
So
Um,
many.
it's just everybody's got so many.
Yep. So
I
what's
must
your
say,
top three?
right. I love at the moment Valentine costumes. He's currently working on some great cyberpunk gear. Um,
Nice.
I have had the pleasure of meeting Kamui a few times, and Kamui and Benny, they're always great fun to hang out with. Um, Dara and Aoki, they do a lot of World of Warcraft cosplays, and I still play World of Warcraft even after all this time. So they, yeah, they resonate with me quite well.
Nice.
So yeah, that would be my top three at the moment,
So
just on a
yeah.
weekly basis
Yeah,
sometimes.
it changes every time because you see somebody's work and you're like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And then next thing you know, you're liking every single post that they have done on Instagram. So is there a cosplay that you created where it was like the most detailed?
I think, ooh, at the moment, my Gamora behind me is very very detailed. It has a lot of elements. I think, however, my robotic geisha might be the one that takes the crown once finished, because that has actually been a very very long term project for me.
Yeah,
I definitely, with elements combined and all the new skills and sort of techniques I need to learn in order to make that work, it's definitely going to be that one, I think.
nice. So what tips could you offer like for craftsmanship when you're making a cosplay?
Yeah. Learn to love sanding. I mean, honestly, sanding is going to be your thing, especially when you're making props. Definitely don't be afraid to fail. I mean, the that I had to make a pair of gloves, I must have made about 20 pairs, and they still wouldn't sit right, and they still wouldn't work. The only thing that's annoying that you go through your fabric, but learn to make mistakes, because that's definitely gonna make you a better person. And finally, just ask for advice. There is no harm in asking anybody in the community to go, how do you do this? And I'll probably do that when I work on my rescue and go, yeah, I know there's tons of stuff on the internet about Eva foam and how to do certain things, but I'll probably still ask some people in the community to help me out.
Yeah, it's there's for my experience, EVA foam is good for high temperatures, whereas Warbler, if you're not in high temperatures, then that is a better foam to use because it bends easy and it stays there, and it's like metal, but it's very expensive. You know, Warbler
I've
is
used
kind of
Warbler in the past.
yeah.
But the problem is also with Warbler is, well, there's a lot of post finishing techniques you have to apply to it to get it nice and smooth, and that's where the sanding comes in. So
That's when
that's where
you're
you
like
learn to love sanding.
you gotta love to learn sanding. So what are what is your favorite cosplay you've done? Would it be the Gamora or
Um, Really, Gamora was fun. I must admit though, my last year Hela with the massive crown, I think was the one that gave me just the most buzz. There was a real, not only from a logistical point of view, it was a proper nightmare to transport it to the con itself,
I'm sure.
but also once on the floor, it was so well received. People, especially other Marvel cosplayers, it just stood out, and I think that was just fun from an interaction point of view.
Nice. So what is the worst cosplay horror story that you have?
That's actually with that helmet,
Yeah, I'm
because
sure.
me and
It's heavy.
a very cool Stormbreaker Thor, I picked up Stormbreaker and I whacked it into my helmet, shattering one of the horns of it.
Wow.
So that was definitely one of my horror stories. So fortunately, there is the cosplay repair station, and with a little bit of a couple of well, glue and some other attachments, it worked fine. It was mended, you can tell. So that was fortunately easily fixed. Otherwise, it would have been
Nice.
a really short con day that day.
Yeah, you're just like, well, I'm gonna be in my room for the next 5 hours fixing
That's it.
this. Yeah. No, exactly. That's the good thing about cons is the cosplay medics are around with tape, glue, everything you can think of to repair your cosplay. And
Super glue was all it needed, and off
yep,
we went.
exactly. So, what is one of your funniest cosplay stories?
That was as Gamora. There was, I think it was MCM, and
Hmm.
at one point it was really weird. I walked out of the hall, and at the same time, two other Gamoras just walked up, and it was just we looked at each other, and there was just a really nice moment between three people who all love the exact same character. So we took a picture of the three of us as Gamora, and I
Nice.
think that was just such a nice. Such a nice way of seeing that everybody was super excited to see each other in their own Gamora suit. So that was definitely a sign that yeah, play is across everything.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw your Gamora pictures on your Instagram, I was like, wait, did she just post a picture of Gamora, or is that her? And then I
Oh,
saw
thank you.
the bottom link, and I was like, it credited the photographer. I'm like, holy crap, that's her. Okay, all right, well, that's realistic. So yeah, like you
It,
said, you try to go for the screen character often.
Absolutely, and I think it's I managed to actually I flew my mum over to help me out with certain sewing parts, so I have to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
But this was, yeah, it was made in 3 months, and then I decided to hire a body painter because I was
Right. That would,
knackered.
yeah, that would
I was
be,
knackered. I was like, I'm not going to paint myself at the con and just
yeah,
do a poor job at it. So I hired a body painter who was very kind and painted me green for the day.
nice. So, do you do the green bodysuit and then paint your face, or was it the whole
Was the
body?
whole top part of my body was all
Oh my
painted green
gosh,
by hand.
that is crazy.
Weird
That,
sensation being sort of with a paint roller.
right? You're just like, whoa, that's kind of weird feeling. Yeah, no, I'm sure. But
Whenever you
hey,
find green somewhere in between your fingers and stuff, you just go, well, that's probably
right?
gonna take a couple of days to come off.
Yeah, that's gonna take a couple days. Yeah, no, like they always say, do it for the gram, right? You gotta dress to impress, and
For
so
your art.
when you're doing that, I'm sure it take like 3 to 4 hours just to paint you.
An hour and a half to
About an hour and a
get
half.
that painted.
That's not too bad. Yeah.
It's all right.
So, have you had any in character interactions that were one of your favorites? So you're at a
I
con
think it
and you're in character, something that was nice.
I had a Loki run up to me and go, "Sister!" It was just brilliant. And same thing with, and then subsequently a Thor appeared. So we had a family shot. It was
Nice.
just fantastic. We had a real good laugh about it, and we stayed in character for a couple of minutes. Had pictures taken by other people. It was just a real fun, fun moment on the con floor.
Very nice. Very nice. No, it's always fun when you're meeting other characters who are dressed into your genre of cosplay and having that interaction with them. So, have you ever cosplayed with a family member?
I'm normally by myself, so I attend Comic Cons, or with a friend who doesn't cosplay, but that's normally on the days sort of before really the cosplay day. So it's yeah, my family isn't involved in cosplay. Well, my mum predominantly when she helps me
Yeah,
with the sewing task at
right.
times, but
You're like,
yeah,
here's a
not really
pattern.
as
Have
cosplay.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Yes.
yeah. I hear you with that whole giving a pattern to somebody because my wife is my cosplay seamstress, and so she made this dress behind me completely from scratch, no pattern, for her Renaissance Festival dress. And I'm like, whoa, you can do that? And she's like, yeah. And then I got into cosplay. Yeah, you know, that's the whole thing with it. So now, when you buy wigs, do you buy them pre-styled or do you style them on your own?
It all by myself. So I normally, especially with the Gamora one and also with the Hela one, just buying sometimes a few just to see the different materials, the different densities, and I end up styling it myself because pre-styled wigs are fine, but I always like to do bits and pieces to it before I'm fully happy with it. So it's just me being fussy, I suppose.
No, it's to each their own. Like some people like that torture, and some people don't. For me, the style,
I'm not good at it. It's
yeah,
it's still a lot to learn from the wig styling, but I can
yeah,
hold my own with curling iron.
yeah. But for the most part, Gamora and Helena, like their hairs aren't like how can I say? It's not radical.
Not
It's
complex at all. No,
it's not radical, and so
I
it's whereas like an All Might or a Sora wig, or a Cloud Strife wig, those take hours to perfect.
admire those people who can do that. I have so much respect for wig stylers.
Yeah,
Sometimes I see the Khaleesi wigs come by, and I just think, how do you? What is this witchcraft? It's fantastic.
yeah, you're right, exactly. And so, do you have a favorite cosplay photo of yourself?
I think my Hela from last year with the helmet that
Mhm.
was shot by shooting cosplayers. He's just captured her so well, and
Nice.
I was surprised when I got it. Definitely, yeah. I think at the moment that's one of my favorite cosplay pictures.
Sweet.
We still are in touch, and I asked him once I have my geisha ready, and depending on what the landscape is going to be, to do a proper photo shoot with the geisha, because
Yeah.
I honestly believe it's worth it, and it's quite a delicate costume
Yeah.
as is.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna have to find somewhere futuristic. Mm. Yeah, it's very hard to find locations sometimes. So, have you ever been mistaken as a different character while in cosplay?
Yeah, Gamora has been called She-Hulk.
Wow. Wow. You're like, okay. That's
I
done.
mean, well, we're Marvel Universe, we're good, so
Yeah.
halfway there.
No, it's interesting because I was like, Gamora, She-Hulk. They are totally two different characters. That's But then again, a lot
Right.
of people who go to cons are usually dragged there by their friends, and they're not known and knowledgeable of characters. It's like if you drag me to an anime fest, I'm not gonna know a single character, but like only a handful.
I'll be the same. It's
You
like
know, I'm like, I
once,
don't
and
watch
then I'll guess the rest.
anime. Yeah, it's just like, okay, I know Kirito from Sword Art Online, and I know the My Hero Academia people, but that's it. But I don't know their names. you know, and
No more than me, then.
and that's the thing is, it's very often if you dress as an anime character that you're mistaken as somebody else. Um, so how many years have you been doing cosplay then?
Well, in total, I would say easily combined with pre-hiatus, post-hiatus, easily over a decade.
Yeah, and so
I
if you were to list all your cosplays, that would be like a long list.
Actually, it wouldn't be that very long.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
because I also work full time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
as I said, I am quite particular and maybe a little bit too fussy about certain things. My costumes can take a little bit longer, but yeah, of course, I've done the various Lara Croft, so anything from the original Lara Croft to Lara Croft from Tomb Raider 2, Tomb
Mm-hmm.
Raider 3. Uh, Darkness as well. So there's a couple of those. Then my Bellatrix Lestrange,
Nice.
followed by Gamora, Sheegan, so the gender bend Negan, and then of course Hela, the non-crown version, and the big massive crown version. So hopefully with lockdown and no cons at the moment,
Yeah.
I have enough time to get the ones that are still work in progress finished.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what cosplayers come out with when cons are back. They're like, hey, I got to perfect everything during this.
There
Yeah.
was plenty of time, no con crunches, nothing.
So would you say your favorite color is green then?
Not really. I'm normally a black person.
Yeah. No,
Black.
yeah. It's funny because you mentioned be a little strange because I have the dark mark on
Ah, nice.
me. Yeah, so I'm with you on that. The whole Slytherin bad, bad
Do
person vibe.
have full Slytherin outfit, proper
Yeah.
outfit.
Yeah, I have the Slytherin sweater and the tie and everything, and now I just got to get the robes. It's fun. It's fun. The Harry
The
Potter
of
world is
course,
an interesting thing.
the Warner Brothers studios here. So every single time I go there,
Oh,
it's
there's Warner Brothers Studios in England
it's
or in
the
the
sort of
UK. Sorry.
it's the sort of the sets where they shot Harry Potter in the
Oh,
studios
yeah.
themselves. So
Nice.
it's not like the one in the States.
No, yeah, it's better. Probably better because it's actually real.
A lot of props. It's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful.
No, that's really cool. That's really cool. So, living in the UK, and you guys have the pandemic and everything. How are you coping with COVID-19, and how are you coping with the whole cosplay scene with it? Is it more like just perfecting your cosplays, or would you say you're looking into more cosplays because of the COVID-19?
I would say, well, I was fortunate enough to get just one con in February. That was the London Film and Comic Con Spring Edition, and that was the last con I managed to get to before lockdown. I think now with everything in lockdown, people will maybe have more time. There's of course the whole virtual con and the whole virtual community, cosplay community is definitely emerging. I just don't know what's going to happen with cons and what the first con is going to look like. So it's going to be wait and see, really. I don't think anybody really has an idea what's going on.
No, yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is like no one knows what's going on, whether we're gonna have a vaccine, whether the vaccine's gonna be good enough to be able to go to cons again, or whether we're gonna constantly have to wear a mask everywhere we go. And so it was funny. I was talking to one cosplayer, and she was like, "I don't want to have to wear a mask with my cosplay." I go, "Well, then cosplay as a Mortal Kombat character."
Just, the game has a fully engulfed helmet. I'm good.
Yeah, there you go. You get,
Uh,
Fallout. Has a whole helmet. There you
Joe,
go.
I mean, you can go anyway.
Master Chief from Halo. Sure, why not? It's as long as you're knowing, oh, hey, you're gonna have to wear a mask when you're at the con, then you can make the cosplay work with it.
Work.
Yeah, it's funny how
It's
so many
yeah.
people want to complain about everything that we're going to have to do, and it's not even here yet. I was like, come on.
Nobody knows what's happening.
I guess Fengler VL says you can cosplay as a Resident Evil nurse. Yep, exactly. Your whole face is covered, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so have you ever lost something at a con? Like a piece of your cosplay or anything?
Never.
Never?
I've been really fortunate that everything that was glued, Velcro down, everything just stayed put. Haven't lost pieces. So touch wood. Hopefully that's going to be the case.
Yeah. So have you ever bought a piece of your outfit at a con?
No, I normally come really pre-packed.
Yeah.
So
You're
it's I have
prepared.
more suitcases when I go to a Comic Con than I actually go on holiday. So
Yeah.
it's every eventuality has been packed for.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the biggest con that you've been to?
Well, I was supposed to fly to Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle this year, but that, of course, happen.
Yep.
That would have been my biggest con to date. But normally, the London Film and Comic Con, the MCMs here in the UK, those are the two major cons, and they are, yeah, they're pretty packed.
Nice. Nice. And so have you ever been in a cosplay panel?
So I normally am in the audience of a cosplay panel, not
Yeah.
in actually on the stage.
Maybe that's something to look into. You know, because
Let's see.
well, yeah, because every cosplayer who designs, who makes, who builds their cosplay, it's like they're phenomenal to me. Because me, I don't have any talent in sewing, armor making, or wig working, and I leave that all to my wife, who does all that cosplay stuff. And whereas like somebody with that knowledge is like, okay, how do I start getting into this and everything? Uh, yeah, they're really fun to do if you ever have a chance to run a panel. Um,
Opportunity, I would take it. It is always nice to be at cosplay panels and just being in the audience. Um,
yeah,
I just yeah, I never had the opportunity to actually be part of one.
yeah, there you go. So have you ever had a chance to meet your all-time favorite cosplayer? And if so, who was it? Or if you haven't, who would it be? And what would you say?
I think it's. I mean, I have so many favorite cosplayers
Yeah.
who I would love to meet. I think the one Kamui Cosplay and Benny, those two are always a joy to meet. I love their
Community
videos
cosplay
and
is the girl who is from, I think she's either German or Dutch or
German. No,
German. Okay.
German.
Yeah. Okay. Now
Yeah,
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, she has a lot of YouTube videos that just, oh, that's how you
yeah,
make
she's
it. Okay,
great.
step by step. Nice, sweet. So yeah, there you
Talented,
go.
absolutely. I've met her a few times, and it's always a pleasure meeting her. She has lots of time for people, and it's yeah, her videos are definitely, and her books are definitely the ones that are part of my research for the big rescue EVA build.
Yeah, exactly. So, uh, have you ever done a cosplay that you regret doing?
No, not really. I mean, I spent so much time. I have abandoned cosplays because I wanted to do a Doctor Strange, and
Hmm.
I just I started gathering things for it, and sort of halfway through, I thought, yeah, I've lost interest. So I think it's more of down to me just abandoning them rather than completing them and thinking I shouldn't have done that. So
Yeah.
there's too much time normally invested in a costume, and I pretty quickly realized that the one that I thought I was going to make, I decided to sort of not push through with that one.
So that's good that you've decided not to push through with the pre-planning stage. Yeah. So when you're deciding on a cosplay to do, what are some things that you look into when you're trying to pick a cosplay?
It's a bit of a mixture. Sometimes I absolutely just fall in love with the costume work, and it just there's even a character. So, for example, the robotic geisha in Ghost in the Shell, she has no lines. She is in the movie at a very short time at the beginning, uh, but the moment she came on screen, I was like, yeah, that's it. That's what I'm making. I absolutely love the aesthetic of it, and then I go off down the rabbit hole with every piece of information I can possibly find out about it. Sometimes it's just the character itself. Hella, for example, I just love her sassiness. I just love her attitude, and I thought, that's something I want to try and embody. So Hella came on the list.
Nice. So do you also take into account the material cost and everything that it's going to have come into it?
I'm really bad at that because I just go and
You
I
just
just buy as I go along.
okay.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes you end up with a much bigger bill than you thought you would. But then, you know, like I said, I ended up buying a bunch of different denim fabrics for the Kimura costume because I wanted to get the right color of blue
Yeah.
texture in it, and you just end up with so much surplus material that drives up the cost. and just trying to make it super accurate and going through um, that extra step in order to get the premium materials.
Yeah.
It just, yeah, it pushes the costs up quite quickly.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going through in with us trying to do a Doctor Strange cosplay. We're trying to get the actual Marvel Doctor Strange look, and whew, yeah, it's expensive.
It's a thing, sometimes you just I've been to the Mopop museum in Seattle, and they had the Marvel exhibition there, and the actual Gamora costume there, the actual Doctor Strange costume there. You just it's an absolute treasure trove, and you just go, right, I didn't do that for that time, but if I tend to upgrade it, I might do this because I now got the reference picture. So I always
Nice,
believe that costumes are never finished. You might end up reworking it,
right?
making it even more accurate.
Exactly. So, have you ever had the urge to kind of think back and say, okay, if I could talk to my past self about anything with cosplay, what would I tell them?
Well, I think probably just try. Nothing is scarier than having that empty sheet of paper in front of you and go, I don't know how to do this, or I have no idea how to make that. And normally this problem, you might overthink it too much, and it becomes more of a problem instead of you just trying it. And if it fails, then you know that doesn't work, and if it works, then great, you move on to the next problem. So
Yeah.
definitely don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah. I think that's the mantra for any cosplayers, like don't be afraid to fail because how many times do you think you've started on a cosplay and it just started falling apart?
Yes, and especially if you have costumes that you're running long term, you look at it maybe 6 months, a year later, and you go, "Do you know what? I really don't like what I'm seeing now, and I was happy with it 6 months ago, but I'm not happy with it right now. I'll redo it." And that's what happened with, for example, my geisha gloves. I did the gloves originally, looked at it later, and I just thought, this is not good enough, and ended up working on it for a couple of days on a new set of gloves.
So, what do you think is one of the hardest things in cosplay?
I think um, it's being happy with what you're doing.
Hmm.
You're your worst critic. You just, you will see every single teeny tiny mistake, and other people won't see that, and they just love that taking the effort, the time to sort of come out in your costumes, but you're not happy because you used the wrong, I don't know, fabric stitching or whatever not. That's, I think that's just really it. You're your worst enemy in
Yeah.
that respect.
So, when you did go to cons, you went solo, you said. Have you ever cosplayed as a group?
No, because sort of I don't really have a cosplaying group or a theme that I normally work with. I normally work with single characters, but at the con you find people with that same sort of universe,
Hmm.
and then you end up for 5 minutes in a sort of an impromptu cosplay group.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, a lot of people say, they prefer to go um and they prefer to go to solo because when you're in a group, you're going to be like um have so many issues with, okay, they're not here on time. Okay, this person wants to go to the bathroom. We all have to go to the bathroom because we're together as a group. Or this person's late. Um one of the
Easier from
one
a
of the
just one
viewers
point of
in
view.
one of the viewers in the chat, Ouija Boo, she said that you're so pretty and your cosplay is pretty. She loves your cosplay as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And so, what's the most difficult character makeup you've done?
Well, Gamora
Yeah,
is try
it's
is
top
being
list.
painted, but then
Yeah,
I haven't done it. It's a very talented body painter who who did it for me.
yeah.
I had definitely a few practice runs on the Hella makeup, as you would just think, oh well, that's just black eyeshadow, you'll be fine. No, I looked like an absolutely, I don't know, drunk raccoon after my first attempt. It just did not work at all.
Yeah. So the mask behind you, the zombie mask, yeah, right there. Did you create that yourself or did you buy it?
That's created.
So I would think that would probably be the hardest, creation you made, probably. But
Elements like needing to make a con safe seal,
yeah,
and this is just,
yeah,
but just making sure that it looks gooey and disgusting. So these kind of props, yeah, I love prop making. Prop making is definitely something I quite enjoy.
is that where you started with cosplay? Is prop making, or did you like go with just cosplays?
It came with the territory, I suppose.
Okay, nice, nice. So, in your opinion, what makes a cosplayer a pro cosplayer?
Well, in the truest definition, of course, a pro professional, you earn your living with being a cosplayer.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's, I always dislike it a little bit, because if you're not pro, it doesn't mean, you're not good at all at what you're doing. I see some people creating the most amazing costumes, and they're not pros. They're just people like me having a hobby out of it.
Mhm.
So not calling them pro is actually a little bit sort of insulting
Mhm.
to their talent.
Yeah.
Some people just, they made their livelihood out of it, and that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, doing the thing that you love doing, and being able to earn your living with that is for a lot of people is a dream, a career dream.
Yeah.
But I don't think being considered pro, therefore you're not good. That's why I don't really like using the term pro cosplayer.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. Because I was asked why I asked this question to all the cosplayers is like, well, aren't they all pro cosplayers? I'm like, yes, in my opinion, everybody who makes a cosplay or puts together something from materials is a professional, is amazing. And yeah, we can drop all that whole thing, and it's uh, it's insane what we can do.
People are super talented, and I mean, it's I'm always amazed, especially when I see other cosplayers doing the same sort of costume or the character, and it's just fascinating to see their techniques. And some of my
Yeah,
techniques are pure are accidental rather than really well researched. But I see people making beautiful molds and swords and things, and you just go, oh, I wish I could do that. And I'll probably at some point will attempt it, but I haven't got the costume yet to do that. But to not call them pro is a little bit of an insult, I think.
no, yeah, I agree because I think well, you've been to a con where I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the professional cosplayer, the one who has been like paid money to be a guest at the con, is underdressed versus people who are going up to them and saying, "Oh, hey, can I get an autograph from you, or can I get your photo?" And I'm like, "Wow, that person who's here getting paid is less dressed than that person who's asking for the autograph." And I was like, "What?" It's insane. Have you ever
But
seen that?
they do have to be in that spot for 8 hours a day, so being a little bit comfortable, I don't blame it.
Well, yeah, there's comfortable and there's just amazing work, whereas like, if you were in your Gamora cosplay for, let's say 10 hours, would that be uncomfortable? Yeah.
it,
A
yeah,
bit.
it is
Yeah. No, I'm sure. So
a little bit.
what do you think is your favorite part of cosplaying?
Just the ability to completely be somebody else for whatever time period you're doing it. I always try to, in a, in a weird kind of way, just try to take something on from the character. It's that reaction of people, that when I first debuted my Hela helmet, it was it was fantastic. You get a little bit of an adrenaline rush out of it when people really receive your costumes that well,
Yeah.
and it's just the creative process of it, just being able to make something that you can wear and take out on the road, and show it off. I think that's such a nice way of almost creating wearable art.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, to see the progress of your cosplays and how people perceive them and everything. And it's a euphoric type of feeling when somebody says, "Oh my gosh, it's Hella from," you know, you know, and they're running across the room, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this person really likes my cosplay. Nice."
Really,
And
really a nice feeling.
for the chat, if you guys have any questions you want to ask, Dark Arts Cosplay, feel free to ask them at any time during the interview. So moving on, do you think there's the ultimate dream cosplay in your future, or do you think it's you've reached that plateau?
I think at the moment I'm working on the geisha. That is
Mhm.
at the moment my dream cosplay, because it's so incredibly complex, and I just want to do it so much justice. Kurt and Bart, the costume designers, they have taken so much care and attention to the actual Japanese sort of cultural aspect of it, and I
Nice.
definitely want to replicate that and do it as much justice as I can from an authenticity point of view.
Mhm.
So dream cosplay, maybe that one, but then once that's finished,
Move
sky's the
on to the
limit
next.
really.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
move on to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. It's you can always tell when a creator is really good at what they do is because they always have a new dream. They always achieve their dream and then they go on to the next one. It's like, oh, okay, I'm done. I did my ultimate cosplay. I'm good. For me, I think the ultimate cosplay for me is just buying a full armor bodysuit of Iron Man. That's like the ultimate dream, but that's $10,000. Of course, that's a
Very
lot of
expensive.
money. That's a lot of money, but yeah, the whole cosplay is you could step out of it, you could step into it. It closes in on you, has a voice changer, everything moves, everything lights up. It's well worth the money, but whew, $10,000 is a lot of money. So
Got a dream, you know?
yeah, and you got everybody's got a dream, right? Everybody has
Got a
to
dream.
dream. So is there anything that you regret in going into cosplay?
I think so. I think I'm it's quite a good hobby. I think the only thing sometimes what it does make me um, become a little bit of a hermit, just locked into the process, and
Mm.
then I need to be reminded every now and then to sort of stop what I'm doing and just
Yeah.
come out,
It's
just
like
interact
take a
with
break, interact
people.
with family, friends. Yeah, exactly. No, it's pretty crazy. Now, Europeans in general, they're more likely to live with their parents for a long time, past the age of 18. So is it normal for people to live with their parents, and or is it to save money to be able to do these cons, or do you think you're like, oh no, as soon as I got 18, I was out of the house?
I mean, it's different for everybody in their own situation. Pretty much as soon as I went to uni, I moved out, and I haven't lived with my parents since. Which I kind of like, because I got my own space, I got my own
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I mean, obviously, it's everybody's situation is different, and some people choose to live with their parents, and other people have sort of no choice but to live with their parents.
So,
Um,
yeah. So do you believe that the whole saying the older you get, the better you get at cosplaying because you can afford the material?
I would say, yeah, if
Hmm.
working professionally with a steady income, it does make it easier to to fork out the cash required.
Mhm.
It sort of has that flip side because you have the cash, you start to do bigger, more better things. Well,
Yeah.
it's
More
it's the kind of
detailed
more
things. Yeah.
detailed, more sort of attention to, oh well, I'll try this, and if it doesn't work, I'll buy something else to see if it works. Cosplaying on a budget is, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with it, and everybody
No.
should cosplay according to their own means and income.
Yeah.
There's no, I think there's nothing wrong with people who buy their cosplays or whatever.
Mhm.
It's as long as you have fun doing what you're doing and you can afford to do what you want to do. By all means, go for it.
Yeah. Do you think it's the cosplay community is getting better at realizing that, oh, cosplayers are here to, entertain us, to bring us into that reality and that fictional world? Do you think more and more people are getting into cosplay?
Yeah, there's definitely an uptake for more cosplayers, and now also with a lot of the online shops facilitating costumes quite easily and quite affordable. It's the threshold has been lowered substantially for people to get into cosplay,
Yeah.
which I think is only good. When I started out a long time ago, it was, I wanted to get the latex top for Lara
Mhm.
Croft. There was only one shop that dealt with with latex fashion, and it had to be custom made and everything else. And now, if I wanted a wig, I just order it online in AliExpress or something like that. But then at that time, then part shops, and then you would get the really horrible clown-like wigs. There was no industry
Yeah.
for it. So with more cosplayers and easier access to cosplays itself, I definitely think it's a good development.
Yeah, there was one cosplayer that was telling me that there's actually cosplay shops being built where it's nothing but cosplay. You know,
I mean,
it's really interesting.
it's bizarre, really, but great.
Yeah, yeah, but of course, there's no like actually cosplay shops. It's just like, oh yeah, you have Joanne's over here, you have SAS materials, and in the UK, what are some shops that you go to get your material?
Well, you've got polyprops, which is mainly for your EVA foam, and then normally it's just the usual places for fabric, anything from eBay, eBay to Amazon, really.
So it's more
I think
online, would you say, or do you
it's
have actually
definitely
like,
online.
do you have any stores that are set up where you can actually get good material?
Mm, We got Hobby Craft, which is just a craft store. That's good for paint. I prefer to use Tamiya paints, which is normally used in model building.
Hmm.
Then I normally end up going to the local model shop to get my Tamiya paint there. So it's not specifically for cosplay, but there's definitely brick and mortar shops where you can buy the sort of the ingredients if you want for your cosplay.
Yeah. So we've talked about the whole community in cosplay before, but have you ever had the toxicity of the community? Have you ever had the cosplay drama?
No, and I tend to sort of avoid cosplay drama as best as I can. I see it, and of course, I'm fully aware of what's happening in the community.
Hmm.
But I think I don't think me adding anything to that is going to be sort of substantially changing anybody's point of view, really. So I
Yeah.
normally observe. I do reply if I feel incredibly strongly about certain things, because I don't shy away from my opinions. I will have an opinion about things, but
Nice.
at the same time, I believe that sometimes you just have to make sure that what you're saying is relevant to the sort of the topic and how you're saying it.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot of people in the community that, are toxic, and we have to like kind of weed them out of the community. And
It's just call them out, expose them, and just make sure that that doesn't take over the community.
Yeah.
I do find it very, especially on sort of online, where you see a, let's say, a pro builder starting out, and
Mm.
their work isn't up to the sort of the level that some of the other people are posting. Instead of bringing it up and say, oh, that's great, you know, maybe try this next time, there is that sort of instant, oh, what's this crap, I don't want to look
Yeah.
at that, why are you doing this, why are you posting this on Facebook?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
then at that point, normally sort of speak up and call out that sort of behavior, because
Yeah.
we all have to start somewhere. We all
Exactly.
were incredibly crap at what we did at the beginning,
No. Yeah.
and only by positivity and being able to sort of keep repeating what you're doing, you hone your craft and get better at it. But
Yeah.
that
You know,
environment needs to be stimulated.
the unfortunate thing is that, like, for cosplayers, in of what I've seen, is the more athletic you look, the more like the character you look, the more attention you're getting. It's very rare do you see like somebody who's overweight and getting a lot of attention, unless they do their own rendition of the character and they make it comical. It's like, oh yeah, he's a fat Thor. Ah, ha, ha, that's funny, you know, because thanks to Marvel, now we have a fat Thor. So all
Yeah,
those,
fat Thor.
now all those, fat guys, and they're like, yeah, I can cosplay as Thor, you know. But the good thing
Well,
about
I don't
cosplay in
think so.
general is body positivity, and that's the good thing about cosplay.
I think so. I don't think there's it's, well, of course there's still very much that sort of attitude. If you look athletic, you get
Yeah,
the likes. However, fortunately within the community there are a few people who have been sort of normal average sizes, sometimes plus, whatever plus may be, because that's just that seems to be thrown around
yeah,
willy-nilly. But it's honestly, I think people who put themselves out there, no matter what body shape you are,
yeah,
that in a cosplay is just, all kudos. It's nothing better than doing that and being happy with it.
yeah. Fangler VL brings up a very interesting point. They ask if do you guys think the movie industry supports cosplaying or cosplayers enough, or should they do more? Interesting.
The movie industry in itself facilitates a lot of the cosplays by purely putting out the movies themselves. What I do find is that, especially at premieres, the red carpet events,
Yeah,
cosplayers are now a integral part of that event. Depending,
yeah,
especially with the Marvel movies,
yeah.
there
Exactly.
isn't a Marvel red carpet where you don't have the cosplayers, and it's now a staple part of that sort of industry. So
Yeah,
people recognize that as a really positive fan sort of behavior on the back
yeah,
of it.
yeah. Somebody who
The
told
movie
me
industry is doing
that
tons.
what? I'm sorry.
The industry is doing tons by making beautiful costumes and
Mhm.
telling those stories for us to be
Yeah,
inspired to actually
yeah,
play.
exactly. No, it was funny. Benedict Cumberbatch, the actor who played Doctor Strange, he got dressed up in all of his Doctor Strange gear, and he went to a local library or a local shop or something, and
The
started,
comic book store.
the
Yeah.
comic book store, yeah, and started taking pictures with everybody, and I was like, wow, that's so crazy. It was like, you
Cool.
know.
It's really
Yeah, it was funny when I was going to my con last year, not this year, but last year. I was head to toe in my Spider-Man outfit, and it was like the first con that I've been to ever. And I had to stop and get gas, and I was in full Spider-Man outfit. So I was like, you know what, forget it. I'll put on the mask. I don't care. So I went in there. I said 20 on pump five. And this old guy looks at me and goes, "Why?" And this guy behind him goes, "Why not, man?" And he's like, he's been awesome in his Spidey, man. You go, Spidey, man, and you go pump that gas,
good.
you know. And
You
so
know, it's
it was pretty funny how the community, like the society, is not body shaming anybody because yeah, you put
I think
your
everybody, you know,
oh go ahead.
everybody sees enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Everybody is enthusiastic, and sort of if you're positive, enthusiastic, and engaging, that just resonates from you, and hopefully will create that positivity that we need in the community.
Yeah, no, in most areas, it seems that more and more people are accepting cosplayers now than back in the day when cosplaying was just coming out. Because you were the nerd, you were the geek if you went to a con or if you dressed up at a con, you were like the uber geek if you dressed up. Now, you're the outcast if you don't dress up at a
Label.
con. You're just like, okay, why aren't you in cosplay? You're at a con. Yeah.
And even if I'm in my civvies, I always wear a T-shirt that's relevant to it. My thing is when I have my photo shoots with guests at the Comic Con, I always wear a T-shirt that's relevant to them, which does mean I have to pack a bunch of T-shirt changes sometimes when I have multiple photo shoots. But
Yeah.
it is that still showing that appreciation for that particular fandom, maybe in a non-cosplay kind of way, but still in a visual kind of way.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny because my wife and I we were talking about when cons do come back because it's when, it's not if, it's when. uh, that I want to take one of those days and go around and interview cosplayers. And I'm like, okay, well, do I just dress normal or do I dress like an interviewer? And so my wife had the idea of dressing up as a 1920s reporter. So with the whole press badge and the hat
Press
and
card in there,
the
yeah.
the press card and and everything like that.
Really.
Like, okay, that'd be interesting. That'd be fun. But because there's always something that you can create. There's always something that you can do in cosplay. So, um, of course, there's always a good and there's always a bad to every thing that we do. So, what are the bad things about cosplay?
Bad things about cosplay. It's really difficult because it's you're trying to sort of say, well, what's the bad thing about your hobby?
Yeah,
um, Bad thing about cosplay is just this. I personally, I haven't found, apart
nice.
from it being an
That's good
absolute
though.
money and time sink. I think money and time sink is for
Yeah,
me the bad thing about cosplay.
yeah. If
Uh,
we had unlimited money and unlimited time, it would be the most amazing
yeah,
hobby ever. Yeah,
but
I
definitely
think
from
that's
a
for
cosplay
everybody.
point of view, I think in it's it's unfortunate that the community has that sometimes that toxicity in there, and I think definitely that needs to be well eradicated as far as that's possible, really. But from a
Yeah.
cosplay point of view, I think uh, there's love and enough support in the community that 100% good.
Yeah. And the good thing about every single community that I've seen on Facebook or other social networks is that if anybody posts a picture on there, there's lots of comments of like, you're amazing. There's lots of love. And that's a good thing that other cosplayers aren't going, well, you should have done this. You should have done this. And whereas there's a lot of people coming to the person's aid when there is that toxic person in the crowd. But you're gonna get what you're gonna get. Like there
I
was
mean,
one
it's the
cosplayer who told
internet.
me, yeah, of course it's the internet, and
Internet
it's a lot easier to cyberbully versus when I was a child.
to face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
it's
I was a child, if you wanted to bully somebody and you took an embarrassing picture with your disposable camera, then you had to go to the shop, develop the film, go to Kinko's, make 100 copies of that picture, post it around school. Which, granted, I've never done this. I've never done it because I'm not a bully. I do not condone bullying, but that was the how you bullied somebody. And it was like it was all over school. Well, not really. It was all over a section of the school because that person didn't want to go all the way around the school posting thousands of photos on the wall. and usually they were ripped down by those teachers anyway. But now it's an instant click, and that's all over. It's all over the place. You go into the Bluetooth and you send it to everybody, and it's scary. It's scary, but
And
it's good that
it's also
what.
I think it's also the sort of the anonymity of people feeling safe, and it's really easy to be an absolute jerk and a bully from behind your keyboard than it is to be in person to that people person.
Yep, the
So I
anonymous.
think
Yeah.
as people, just don't do it.
No, exactly, because when you're cosplaying, you're showing your talent, you're showing your hobby, you're showing your love for any character, and it doesn't matter like what you look like as long as you're having fun. I met this one guy. His name is Hagrid cosplay, and he's a chunky guy, so he likes to cosplay as chunky characters when he was first started cosplaying, like Hagrid, of course, everything like that. But then he's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna be the Little Mermaid, and so he was the Little Mermaid, and it was hilarious. It was amazing. That you have that much confidence in yourself to pull that off. But what would you tell people who feel that way, that they don't look the certain way, they don't look the certain part, they're maybe chunky, they may be like not pretty faced and everything like that, because that's a lot of cosplayers problems, is like they don't have that pretty chiseled jaw like the characters do. What advice would you give those people?
I think the biggest advice is if you pick a cosplay and you're totally comfortable with it, because just do it. And it's that first step is going to be the worst, and it's going to be the biggest sort of scary moment, but you'll find that uh, once you've made that step and you get on that con floor, whenever that's going to happen, or you get that picture out in the on the social media channel, you'll probably find that there's going to be more love than there is going to be hate. uh, but just make sure that you're comfortable with it, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And just just have that level of confidence that if it's good enough for you, then it's good enough for the world.
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's people have this image of cosplay as sex sells, and so they have to show so much skin just to get attention. And it's sad that in part it's true, and in part it's not. But the whole bottom line of it is that, of course, if you've got it, flaunt it, whatever. If you feel comfortable, like you said, hey, go ahead,
Just
but know that you're going to get unwanted attention. And if you're okay with that, then it's okay. Even if you're fully clothed, you get unwanted attention. Have you
and
ever had
it's
a situation where you felt uncomfortable in cosplay?
I don't, and I think
That's good.
it's
That's good.
I'm 6'1", so I'm very
Whoa.
tall for no,
So no one's gonna
I'm
mess with
very,
you. They're like, I'm good. Yeah.
but there is that little bit of advantage that I have with my height, and even with my hella, which has heels with my costume.
Yeah.
That's even
So that's
even
even like
taller.
6'5" then.
It's
Yeah.
quite tall.
Yeah.
So, and I tend to, if anybody would do something like that, I would instantly call them out on it. I'll make
Nice.
such a big scene,
You're
and
like, get him out right
it,
here.
it's
Yeah, of course.
appreciate it. It might be easy for me to say that because I'm quite assertive, and I'm also a little bit older.
Yeah.
But for younger people, it might be not so simple. But at the same
Yeah.
time, yeah, I would definitely. You're in a con, you're in a public environment, make noise, just call them out.
Yep. Use your whistle. It's like,
It's
no,
not okay.
no,
It's
yeah, of
definitely
course
not
not.
okay.
Yeah, it's not okay. That the unfortunate thing is we have to bring these things to light, because still, even when we do bring it to light, there are people out there that still can't get the picture. I'm like, dude, stop doing this at cons. Stop doing this in photo shoots. Stop doing this in general. Be the like professional when you're talking to somebody, please. You know, ask if you want if you have a picture,
Just
if you like if
exactly.
you know like if you want a picture with somebody, fine, but let them know what type of picture you want to take. Because I've seen photos where girls are taking pictures with their fans, and all of a sudden the guy grabs her and hugs her, and she's like totally not comfortable with that, and he's like, dude,
It's, but
you
and
gotta
that's
ask.
yeah,
you know
it's not okay, and I would call them out really quickly on that.
yeah, well, like you said, you're older than like the 18-year-old cosplayer. You're more experienced in life, and you're more outspoken. That's what like a lot of people need to be when they're cosplaying, is the outspoken, the out like saying, hey, okay, let's get this done, let's have a fun time, and do it. Now, do you go to the cons with a handler to help you with all your props and everything?
Uh, no.
No.
I do know that for some costume I will need a handler, so I will probably have to ask around and see who wants to be my handler for the day. But normally it's all by myself.
Yeah.
Last year when I did Hella at the con, I of course had to carry my phone, my hotel key, all that sort of
Mhm.
stuff, my business cards, and this thing doesn't have pockets,
Yeah. No,
so
unfortunately, that's the truth for all
no
cosplays.
interdimensional space that I could hide stuff in. So I took the Ruby's Thor kids hammer and I made a handbag out of a Thor hammer. So I would carry the little hammer over my shoulder, had a lid, and then I could just put my stuff in it.
So, what advice would you give a cosplayer who has to go to the bathroom during a con?
Um, you gotta go, you gotta go. I tend to eat carbs in the morning and drink very little, and then just suffer for it, and then only have a few sips of water here and there,
Just like, give
and
me my
set yourself up
capsule
for.
full of water, please. Yeah, exactly.
There's, for example, the Gamora one. I'm actually screwed in because the belt is put together with screws. I can't go to the bathroom. Um, Hella does not allow bathroom breaks.
Wow. Wow. I don't know if I could
Yeah,
go a whole con without. Yeah, like even with my Spider-Man outfits, like zipped up in the back. I had the security guard. He's like, "Hey, can you unzip me so I can use the bathroom?"
no, it's
Yeah,
no,
that is bladder control to the max. If you can do that, yeah,
no,
no, it's
no
true.
bathroom breaks.
Well, the good thing is in the UK, it doesn't get up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas in Arizona, it can get that hot. And if you're not drinking
Let's get
water, you're gonna die.
the
um,
July cons in the Olympia is where London Film and Comic Con is held, and that has a glass roof. So you're looking at about
oh
30 plus
man.
degrees. It
Well,
is
still
scorching.
30 Celsius I could deal with, but when it gets up to 45, 46, that's when you need to have water. And that's the unfortunate thing of Arizona, where I live, is it gets up to 42, 45 degrees Celsius, and it's insane.
Yeah, not
Especially when
good.
you're trying to have a Deadpool cosplay on, and you're like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Too hot.
Yeah, but the one thing that I am planning when I do the full on Deadpool cosplay is not a onesie, but pants, a top, and usually take off the belt and go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Because that is insane, of like being zipped up, screwed in, and not being able to use the bathroom. I'm like, oh my gosh, you, like I said, props. You have the bladder skills of a ninja. Um, so what is the worst cosplay photo of yourself?
Um, Probably just one of those pictures that you
At the
find on
beginning,
Instagram that somebody took when you were just not paying
he's
attention.
like eating a sandwich. How?
Just where you're trying to sort of figure out where you're going next, and you look completely lost, and then somebody just snaps that picture, and you just go,
Like, no.
just ask me
Yeah,
to
just
post.
stop me, please. Yeah, no, yeah.
Just don't.
There was a funny thing that I saw at a con, and I took the photo of it. It was the handler had on the backpack. If you want a picture of this character, ask. And it was funny because people would stop and like, hey, can I take a picture of you? Yeah. And yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. I was like, oh yeah. And I asked the cosplayer, I'm like, well, why do you have that sign? He's like, so I don't have any embarrassing pictures. I'm like, oh, makes sense. Yeah. No, it's true because we, as a cosplayer, you want to bring people into that fiction, into like make it a reality for them. It's like, I know every time I cosplay as Spider-Man for my nephew, he goes insane every time Spider-Man shows up at his door. Uh, yeah, because he was in the hospital just a month ago, and my sister-in-law called me up and says, "Hey, can you put on your mask real quick?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so I put on my Spider-Man
That's
mask,
good.
and I was like, "Hey, buddy," and he's like, "Spider-Man, how you doing?" And
Spider-Man.
so yeah, it's funny because he tells his friends like my mommy has the number to Spider-Man.
Oh,
And so it's
that's
like it's
adorable.
funny as heck. No, and that's the good thing about cosplay as well is those interactions you have with children. So have you ever had a chance to do any charitable work with children or anything like that as a cosplayer?
I haven't, and it's mainly the Disney princesses who get the gig.
Oh,
And
yeah.
although I'm technically Disney princess Hella
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
moment,
Technically you are. Yes. Yes, you are.
yeah, yeah, I think there's probably a couple of Frozen or characters that could probably going to be more desirable than the Goddess of Death appearing.
Yeah. So have you ever cosplayed in those type of characters or you're more of the dark bad girls cosplay?
I'm predominantly the bad girls.
Hence the name Dark
Only
Arts.
considered Maleficent.
The Dark Arts cosplay. Let me guess.
Arts.
The Dark Arts cosplay name came because of the Beatrix Lestrange, right?
Yes, it was. I wanted something that was a little bit intriguing, and of course, with the Bellatrix Lestrange, the dark arts, people,
Mm.
saying, "Oh, it's like magic," or it's how did you do that? It's you just make a joke about it. It's magic. So
Yeah,
that's where I sort of ended up with the dark arts cosplay name.
nice, nice. Maybe a evil sorceress is in your future. Yeah. No,
Side
yeah.
job, yeah.
Well, yeah, Hela. She's technically got the Norse powers. Thank you again for coming on to the interview. Uh, I always leave the last few minutes for the chat. If there's any questions that you want to ask, chat, feel free to ask. Um, so yeah, it's always fun to interview the cosplayers because you get to know a little bit more of how they got started and what's been going on during this whole pandemic. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we get everything back to normal in January and everybody's back, cosplaying at cons and everything like that. So, is there anything you want to tell your fans that watch the Read broadcast or who are watching now?
Well, unfortunately, this year I won't be going to any cons because I decided 2020 is going to be my craft year. Uh, but definitely keep an eye out on my socials, and you can finally see that I'm finishing off costumes that have been sort of left alone for quite some time. And everybody just stay safe and enjoy what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all back on the floor, hopefully in 2021.
Yeah. So again, thank you for your time and thank you for coming on to the show today.
For the invite.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.